Hey everybody. So in this week's Parshat Yitro, we have the famous Aseret HaDibrot, the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, when the Jewish people were at the base of Mount Sinai, they heard God speak to them directly, and they were given the Aseret HaDibrot, the Ten Commandments. I want to talk about one of them today, and that's Lo Tignov, don't steal. Don't steal. And I want to make 3 points. Number one, the first one is based on something of my career as a thief, which was very, very short-lived. And I remember as a little kid, maybe 8 years old, whatever, there used to be a store that sold candy in our neighborhood. They called it a cigar store. I'm not sure why they called it a cigar store. I guess they sold cigars, but all the kids used to go there after school to get candy, to get bubble gum, things like that. And someone was telling me, you can get free candy, you could steal candy when there's tons of people, when there's tons of kids in the store after school. The owner, he can't see everything going on. And so you kind of wiggle your way amongst those kids, and when he's not looking, you grab something, you put it in your pocket. I went, okay, I'll try that. So I went in there, and there's all these kids, and I'm getting really, really nervous, and my heart is pounding, and I'm looking over at him. Is he looking? Is he seeing? And I'm trying to figure this out, and waiting for the right moment. I grab something, I put it in my pocket, and then I got to figure out my getaway. I take off, and I go outside. And I came to the realization at that young age, this just isn't worth it. All the nervousness and time and anxiety, and not that I knew of the word anxiety back then, but it'd just be easier just to pay for the thing. And that was the end of my thievery, the end of my stealing career. And that's point number one, is when it comes to stealing and its cousin lying, and sometimes, most of the time, usually, hopefully, much more difficult than just being honest and upfront. When you lie, you always got to figure out, oh yeah, what did I tell this person? But when you're honest, you don't have to figure out and remember. It's what it is. It's the truth. And so when it comes to theft, when it comes to dishonesty, it's just much easier to be an honest person. That's the simple reality. So that's lesson number one about Lo Tignov, don't steal. Lesson number two is also based on something that happened in my childhood, really going back over here. So we didn't take a whole lot of family vacations in our home, but one of them was to Niagara Falls. And I remember, again, I must have been 6, 7, 8, because I think I recall it was in my father's 66 Chevy Impala. But we went to Niagara Falls, me and my 3 older brothers, 4 boys, my dad and my mom. And we were supposed to stay there for a few days, but the vacation was cut very short. We were in the restaurant for breakfast. And we're 4 little boys, we're 4 little kids, and what do little kids do? So we're taking the salt and the pepper and the sugar and the little creamers and everything, and we're mixing them all up and making concoctions and just making a mess. And apparently there was a fountain there, and we threw it in there. I don't know. It was just, we were acting like little kids. Well, my father said, enough of this. Finished, over, we're going home. And that was the end of the vacation. I didn't understand. I figured, okay, he just got frustrated with us, and that's that. I didn't find out until many, 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 many years later. I was an adult, and I was recounting this to my mother. And she told me, you know what bothered your father about that? My father was a Holocaust survivor. So what bothered him about that was this was somebody's things. This was somebody's property. We were abusing it. We weren't respecting it. We were throwing it away. We're like stealing it in a certain sense. And you see, that's the other issue when it comes to stealing. It isn't just about the things. Somebody worked for those things. Somebody put those there. Somebody bought those. Somebody spent time with that. And so when you steal from someone, you're dehumanizing the other person. You're not recognizing the humanity, that there's a person behind this. It isn't just a thing. There's a person behind this. That's what bothered my father. He didn't convey it to us. I only found out about it many years later. But because there's people behind this, we're making it difficult. We're taking from other people, and we're dehumanizing them in a certain sense. And so that's lesson number 2 about don't steal. It's not just about the stuff. It's about not recognizing that there's a real human being who owns this, who worked for this, who bought this, who relies on it. And so that's the problem number 2 with stealing. And problem number 3, the third issue, the Talmud says that when a person steals from another person, it's a pain for God in a certain sense. Not in terms of someone doing something wrong and pains him that also. But it's now he has to rearrange creation because something that belonged to somebody and it should belong to them, and now it's taken unjustly from them. So now God has to kind of make it up to them, if you will. And so he has to rearrange creation so that person gets reimbursed for the thing that they lost. And that's the other problem with stealing. You're creating more work for God. I know that doesn't really make sense because God is infinite and there's no such thing as more effort or less effort with him. But that's what the Talmud says, is that how we have to regard it. That we're being a pain to God by creating, we're creating things in creation. We're disorganizing and ruining creation through our theft. And that's the third lesson here of don't steal. We actually ruin creation by taking something that doesn't belong to us from another person. A few ideas about lo tignov, and we should all learn from them. And hopefully there's not too many thieves out there, but certainly convey this to others, friends, family, children especially, so they don't go into those cigar stores and help themselves to a packet of bubble gum. Have a good Shabbat.